Hey guys, Azralynn here, and today we're going to talk about the Freddy rework that is coming to Dead by Daylight. Now the Freddy rework is still a work in progress, so any of this information could change before this Freddy rework becomes live, so definitely keep that in mind. So what exactly is a character rework? Well, when it comes to Freddy, the developers have determined that Freddy is not where they want him to be in terms of his playstyle. Not just playing as Freddy, but people playing against Freddy are not necessarily enjoying the experience either. So these rework changes coming to Freddy are going to completely change how he plays and how he interacts with the game. Not just changing his power, but his add-ons and other things as well. I know myself and a lot of others have really been looking forward to a rework of Freddy, but for those of you who may not play against him or as him very often, here's why they want to rework Freddy.
So the Nightmare came out and our players felt a little frustrated when playing against him and playing as him. Waiting 7 seconds before you can hit somebody was a bit frustrating for players. They wanted to be able to hit people right away. And playing against Freddy, him being invisible by default was very difficult for new players, in addition to the fact that they had a high interaction speed debuff, so it took a long time to do actions. So we're looking to improve those specific things.
The developers pretty much nail the key issues with Freddy here. Playing in those low ranks against Freddy has a lot of frustrations with being in the dream world and unable to really feel like you're doing anything or be able to reliably wake yourself up. But then when you get to high rank Freddy, it's actually the polar opposite, where it's the killer himself getting frustrated due to the really long delays before you can actually interact with survivors. So how is this original version of Freddy that we have right now going to be changed in the reworked version?
So the old Freddy, as I was mentioning, he was like a delay type of game character with very simple mechanics where he just puts people to sleep. Now we're looking to add map mobility in addition to an active power that you can use within chases. He still has the deviousness aspect of him, but no more interaction debuff.
So the key thing to note here is that they're going to be completely removing the action debuffs that survivors against Freddy would normally experience while they're in the dream world. And in addition to that, adding more mobility to Freddy and giving him more activated abilities to play with.
We're looking at two main components. We're looking at a new sleep cycle and new dream abilities. The sleep cycle has three components to it. It has MicroSleep, which is the first one I'm going to talk about. Ultimately, players will experience Freddy differently, so when you're awake, he'll be intermittent at a certain distance, invisible past a certain distance, and completely visible within a tight range. You'll hear the terror radius by default instead of the lullaby, and that's pretty much it for the default MicroSleep, and you can hit people right away as Freddy. You don't have to wait for them to fall asleep.
It sounds like MicroSleep is going to be the base status that all players playing against Freddy will be in whenever they're not fully in the dream world. And I love the fact that Freddy's going to have a terror radius when he's close to you, because it'll be a lot easier to tell where he's coming from. And as someone who enjoys playing as Freddy, I'm really looking forward to being able to actually hit survivors without having to wait for 7 seconds for them to fall asleep. Because nothing was more annoying than watching survivors just continue to repair a generator or unhook people right in front of you feeling completely helpless. Having survivors being able to see Freddy when he's that close is a pretty good trade-off for having Freddy be able to hit you right away. Being able to see Freddy when he's near you, but then have him start to flicker out of existence when he gets a little further away and then go completely invisible farther away, sounds like a really interesting idea, and I would really love to know the number ranges on each of the phases. So since there's not actually a power to pull people into the dream world anymore, how exactly will survivors fall asleep?
So this is the second component of the sleep cycle. Survivors will be falling asleep passively, so it's going to happen over 60 seconds or whatever time we choose. Keep in mind this is a work in progress, so anything may change, even with the things that I'm saying, but this should be the general idea of what's happening. After people fall asleep, Freddy should be completely visible, and you'll be hearing the lullaby instead of the terror radius, which is a little harder to detect where he's coming from.
So having survivors fall asleep at regular intervals is definitely going to put a lot more pressure on survivors, and it'll force them to have to wake up more often. Although being in the dream world is not as punishing as it is currently with Freddy, simply because there's no action speed penalty with the new reworked Freddy. That being said, I would really like for them to clarify if Freddy will still be able to see survivors while they're in the dream world. And if Freddy can still see the survivors, what ranges are survivors visible to Freddy? Because I feel like it could potentially be too strong if every single minute when people fall asleep, Freddy will always be able to know where people are or find them. And this could make him even more annoying to go against than the Doctor. I'd also like to know if there's a way to prevent yourself from falling asleep. And also, since survivors fall asleep passively, will this transition from MicroSleep to full-on sleep world happen while you're in chase? Or will it be similar to the mending effects where it does not happen with the terror radius active? I definitely have some concerns with the new sleep transition they've mentioned, and I would love to hear them clarify some of the details about how it works. With survivors falling asleep a lot more often, how hard will it be to wake up? And what happened to the reduced visibility in the dream world?
The dream visual will be changing as well. People were saying that the graininess was a bit difficult for their eyes. We're working on this right now. We don't have an example of what it's going to look like, but look forward to see something different for that as well. And the dream world will be staying, of course. So if you knew the previous Freddy, we had failed skill checks as an ability to wake up. Now any failed skill check will wake you up. That includes sabotage. In addition to failing skill checks, you can wake each other up. This is the old snap, snap, clap, clap, and then you're awake. And the final component of waking up is the new dream object, which is a clock on top of a dresser. When you fall asleep, there will be a dream object that you can interact with that will always wake you up.
I absolutely love the idea of having an item in-game to interact with in order to wake yourself up on your own. Because let's be honest, there's not always people near you to wake you up, and sometimes you just don't get the skill checks popping up to fail them properly. So yeah, having these alarm clocks in the world, really looking forward to that. But I would also like to know if, when you do wake yourself up, does Freddy get any notification of where a survivor woke up at, and how many of these alarm clocks are going to be placed on each of the maps? What are Freddy's new abilities going to be?
So we start with dream palettes. Dream palettes, not like the Doctor, but similar to the Doctor. You can place dream palettes on spawn points throughout the map, where palettes would normally spawn, to place these fake palettes. Awake survivors do not see these palettes, so you have to play like a memory game and remember which ones were not there before you fell asleep, and then when you fall asleep, there will be fake palettes. These fake palettes, when you interact with them and drop them, they explode in blood. So we're choosing between the dream palettes and the dream snares. For those of you at home, we're not sure if we're going to go for both in this base kit. It might be one that turns into an add-on, or the other one is base kit. The dream snares is an ability that you can use actively within a chase. It only affects sleeping survivors. And when you place it on the ground, it will take 2 seconds to arm, and when a survivor walks over it, they will be slowed for the time that the trap is active and for a lingering effect after that.
Okay, so creating these dream palettes that trick survivors into going the wrong way is an interesting idea, but I would really like to know what exactly does dropping the dream palette do? I know they said that it explodes in blood, but does that explosion of blood actually do something to the survivor? Or is it just like a visual effect that goes onto their screen, reducing visibility? And as for the dream snares, it sounds like it's going to be a delayed hag trap that actually explodes into a gas cloud like the clown has. Both of these abilities sound interesting to use, but I think I would prefer the dream snare ability until they give us more information on what the exploding blood palette actually does. I also think that they would need to have a limit to how many dream snares Freddy could put down at once, which also makes me wonder if the number of dream palettes you can have active at once would be limited as well. So how is Freddy going to have increased mobility? Because so far we haven't heard anything about that yet.
This is the generator teleport. So ultimately, as Freddy, you can aim at a generator, and you can channel an ability for 5 seconds. After the 5 seconds, you will appear at the generator. But you can also cancel it. Ultimately, the generator will explode in blood during the time period while you're channeling, and a husk of Freddy will also appear at the generator.
Damn! Freddy teleporting sounds like a really, really fun thing to play with, but not sure if playing against it's gonna feel really fair or balanced. I mean, 5 seconds is a really long cast time, but it does look like you can move while you cast it and be able to cancel it whenever you want. Big question is, can survivors hear that he's casting this ability? Maybe similar to how you can hear Spirit when she's phasing, or even Nurse when she's blinking, because for having such high mobility, I definitely feel like there needs to be some sort of like warning sound for survivors, so they could just know that Freddy's just casting it and they should be weary, even if Freddy is not going to that generator. It also makes me wonder if Freddy can teleport to generators that are already completed, or if it's only limited to generators that are not yet finished. I'd also like to know if there's a cooldown on this ability, and what is the maximum range that Freddy can teleport. I can just see it right now, Freddy teleporting with Tinkerer, Barbecue and Chili, or Discordance, and that will be absolutely terrifying, so I really hope they put some limitations there to make it not too strong, but it really sounds like a fun ability to use as Freddy. Don't get me wrong, 5 seconds is a very, very long cast time, but if you can go from one side of the map to the other side in just 5 seconds, that's gonna be absolutely insane. The little gameplay footage that we saw there, the generator exploding in blood didn't really do anything, except for maybe just look cool. So that makes me think that the dream palettes exploding in blood isn't gonna do anything either. And we really didn't get to see a husk of Freddy spawn either, but I'm expecting that husk to look similar to the Hag's husk or the Spirit's husk. But the question is, will that husk have a terror radius? I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to hearing more information about Freddy, but hopefully some of these questions and concerns that I have with Freddy will be addressed in the near future. The big question I know you guys are probably asking is, when is the Freddy rework coming? And we don't have any exact dates on that yet, but we do know that the Freddy rework and the Badham preschool map rework is coming in the mid-chapter patch after Ghostface. So yeah guys, that's the summary of what information we currently have about the Freddy rework that's coming, and my thoughts surrounding it. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you guys have any concerns like I do? What stuff are you looking forward to with the rework? Or what things maybe do you think they should do differently? So please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So that's it guys, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.